Hello, everyone. IIMA welcomes you all to our webinar series, Future You Set Your Career Compass Right with Experts Insight. And I'm Kalyani, your host for this series. So today, our topic is how to build a career in management consulting. And in this webinar, you'll find out about the roles and responsibilities of a management consultant, where to begin in management consulting, career progression of the speaker from MBA to BCG, MBB versus Big Four, that's always a huge question. We'll be also talking about the key skills to excel in this field, why MBA is crucial for a successful career in management consulting, and more. And of course, in this session, our speaker will also share some essential CAT prep tips towards the end. So let's welcome our speaker, Anushree Naik. She's a senior associate at BCG and an alumna of IIM Ahmedabad. Welcome and thank you so much, Anushree, for coming here for the session today. So let's start from your career trajectory in brief, from graduation to MBA and then to BCG. Yeah.
So, first of all, thank you, Kalyani. Thank you, everyone, for joining in on a Sunday morning. I know it's tough, but thank you for joining. And I hope this session is useful to all of you. And actually, a big thank you to IMS right from my journey, because where I am today, IMS has a big role to play, because I was a student of IMS and I've always been grateful to the tutors and teachers at IMS. So to give you a little bit about my profile, I completed my graduation BCom in 2017, after which I went for a MCom directly. I also side by side, along with my graduation, picked up the CA course and finished my CA course in 2018. So I was done with my graduation and post-graduation BCom, MCom, and CA by 2018, which is when I took my first job, which was at Blue Star Limited. It was via ICAI placement rounds itself. During my first job itself, right from the first month, I started preparing for CAT, because I knew I wanted to give my best in the first attempt itself. So I gave my first CAT attempt, my only CAT attempt in CAT 2019, wherein I scored 98.2 percentile. I took a lot of training from IMS for CAT, as well as for interview preparation, mock interviews. I cleared my interview at IIM Ahmedabad, where I did my MBA for 2 years. During the course of MBA, I think all of you all are mostly aware that after the first year, you have to do a compulsory internship, where I interned at BCG and I got a pre-placement offer and decided to join them full-time after my MBA. It's been a little more than a year for me at BCG. I joined BCG last July. So yeah, that has been my journey from graduation up till
Okay.
now.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Dear attendees, we will be taking all your questions on CAT prep and all in a bit and in between the sessions. So let's first talk about what are the roles and responsibilities of a management consultant, like a broad overview, not just at BCG or Bain, just anywhere. Yeah.
Correct. So any management consulting firm specializes in general strategy consulting. That means it does any kind of consulting, right from strategy consulting to marketing consulting to HR consulting to talent management, etc. The basic role of somebody at the middle level or a junior level at a management consulting firm, which is basically for the first 4 years until you become a project leader, is to be a part of a team which handles one particular client, right? So a basic job of a management consultant is to solve a problem for a client. So a particular company will come to a BCG or Bain or a McKinsey or any management consulting firm with a problem or with a particular new initiative that they want to build. The management consulting firm will assign a team of which you will be a member, and you have to contribute to the team in a way to solve that problem for them. That problem could be solved in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 18 months, 36 months, etc. But it is your job to help the team solve that problem for the client.
Okay. All right. Okay. Tell us. Okay. As what's your typical day at BCG in consulting? Yeah. Like all your days are pretty much the same, structure wise, or
Actually,
is it
no.
very different?
The beauty of a job of a management consultant, I think, is in the dynamism. Every project is different. It could be in any industry, right, from pharma, industrial goods, consumer goods, or it could be a government case, right? So every project is different, and every day in a project is different. No two cases would be the same, because every company will have its own specific set of problems. Even if the problems seem similar, the stage at which the company is would be different. So somebody would be a 1-year company, as a company would be a 10-year-old company, a company would be a 70-year-old company.
Right.
So their problem and their status is different, which is why every day the work will be different. The way you solve a particular problem would be different. Also, you as a management consultant work very closely with the client team members. So you would be working either with a director or with the middle management. They would be different. So somebody would be cooperative, somebody would not be cooperative. So every day of your job, every project of your journey in a management consulting firm would not be the same. So it's not same. A typical day looks like we start our day around 10 a.m. in the morning. 9:30, 10 a.m. is what time we reach either the client office, since management consulting again is a very high communication based job to do. We usually are seated in the client firm itself. So if I'm working for XYZ company, I will be located in XYZ company. I'll be sitting with the team there and working for them. So we will either be working from their office, or of course we have our own management consulting offices in every metro city, and that is where we work out of from. So we start our day at around 10:30 is when the meetings start. And a good day in a consulting career would look somewhere around 7:30, 8, you end your work, which is a very good work hour, I feel, in India at this point of time. And you come home and you have no work. That's a very good day. That's a very good case, a very good project. A very challenging project or a very fast-paced project would require you to work longer hours, because you need to complete a particular case in a shorter period of time. So that can go anywhere. Basically, it can start your day at 10. You can end your day in office at around 10 p.m., which is basically 12 hours of you working in the office, and then you come back home, take 1 hour break, and then you again sit for an hour or two. So that is a challenging case wherein it requires you to put in extra hours to finish the assigned task in a particular timeline, in a particular target date. So around 10 to 14 hours is somewhere around the average of a normal working day at a consulting firm.
Okay. So no one day is same. So basically all your days
not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
I think that is why people keep going in a consulting career, even if it's that hectic, because it's new learnings every single day.
Correct. Yeah. So that brings me to the next question about why did you choose management consulting? You could have chosen maybe something in finance too, because since you are from finance background with CA and everything. So yeah. Why did you choose it, and how did you choose? When was it when you actually decided, okay, consulting will be my field? Yeah.
Correct. So I think while I was doing my CA, though I really loved some of the subjects in the chartered accountancy course, I really liked doing accounts. I liked the concept of audit. My articleship during CA was audit. I realized that job is a little monotonous than what particularly any other strategy role would do, right? Or somebody in a startup would do, because you have to keep doing the same, you have to follow the same set of rules in tax and audit. Of course it changes with every year, but of course it's a little more monotonous than what a particular consulting job would look like, which is why I started thinking that CA would restrict my breadth of experience, and I thought I wanted to go into something more strategy, more core thinking than a CA course. CA course also offers you a lot of finance options in core financial management. Basically, you have to be very strong in finance, but finance was not my set of preferred subjects in CA course, which is why I wanted to dip a little away from accounting and audit as well, and tax as well. And that is when during the CA course itself, I realized that I have particular skill sets that would probably help me during while working as a management consultant, and which is when I decided to do an MBA, and then side by side I decided that after MBA I would want to do specialize in management consulting, because I think my set of skill sets are more in tandem with what a management consultant would require at work.
Okay, so you pursued an MBA because you wanted to get into management consulting then, or and also how does an MBA boost a career, or for that matter, how it's it's a good thing to have if you want to have a successful career in management consulting?
I think it's a very, very, very important question. People should answer for themselves.
Okay.
What is their main motivation of doing an MBA? And it could differ from person to person. An MBA could be only to maybe boost the salary structure for a person. It could be to boost skill sets for a person. For me, it was to widen my area of specialty. I had never studied HR. I had never studied marketing. I had never core studied psychology, which was actually my core interest, or I had never studied something like design thinking, or applying heuristics in marketing. So these are very core subjects which are not taught in a specialized course like a CA. So for me, my main motivation of doing an MBA is to widen my breadth of opportunities I would get after an MBA, which would be like I would be open to do a consulting job or a marketing job or even an HR job for that matter. So my main motivation was this. Having said that, though it was to widen my skill set, MBA definitely helps you in getting entry into a management consulting firm, especially the big three, like the MBB or the top consulting firms, because top consulting firms usually don't hire at a graduation level in Mumbai University. So if you are somebody from Delhi University, your colleges might have placements wherein a BCG or a Bain or a McKinsey would come in and hire people, right? Even in CA course, they only hire rankers. I was never a ranker at the CA level. So I needed something more in my profile to add that push so that my profile becomes more attractive for a consulting firm. That was again another reason. So I think both, a mix of both. I wanted to get exposed to more opportunities, and second, I think it was the best way to get into a top consulting firm.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because since most of these big consulting firms anyway come for placement, so to top B schools. So yeah, it always it opens up. Yeah. So, but tell me, where should one begin a career in management consulting? As in, what kind of profile do you need for you to stand apart from the rest and to be hired by any consulting company, like a top consulting company? We'll talk about the MBB and the Big Four a little later. But yeah, so what kind of things in profile? So apart from an MBA, does it help during the MBA placement that if you've had internship or something before an MBA, what is it? What all can they do now before an MBA?
Perfect. Perfect. So I think to put it into a particular structure, there are three ways you can get into a top consulting firm. One is after your graduation, which is a little difficult since top consulting firms will not come for placements after your graduation, because think about it, right? You have 3 years of studying a particular subject. You're not as skilled of joining as a consultant. So you would be joining at an analyst level, which is a level below the level at which you would join if you had an MBA or a post-graduation. Right?
Okay, got it.
That is one way. You do your graduation, you join at an associate or analyst level, which is like 2 years below, two levels below the level at which you would join if you had had an MBA. The second way is, of course, you do an MBA, right? And you join at a senior associate level, right? Which is a higher level than what you would join if you had only graduation. So that is the best way you get an entry into a level wherein you face the client directly. So 2 years of MBA groom you enough, and the company trusts you enough and your MBA enough to believe that you would be able to face a client who knows his business the best, right? And suggest them solutions for the problem, because you're in an important position where you want to suggest solutions. So the client must trust you, and for that your education is important. So an MBA is important if you want to get into a top consulting at a particular level. The third way is you do a graduation, you do something like a course like a CA or a CFA or a CS. You work for a few years in an industry. Like you work for 2 years, 3 years, and then probably you will have to give several rounds of interviews to kind of get into a top consulting firm. That would require a lot of effort on your part to make your profile more comprehensive. In that sense, you have to do internships to answer your question. You have to probably have some extracurricular activity on your profile. You should either be a part of an NGO, you have to help an NGO, or you have to be exceptionally good at a sport, or you should do some internships or an extra work, or you should have some startup experience, or you can also be a content creator. So it is as vague, but there should be something in your profile that is more differentiated, as you mentioned, than others, right? And that will come with either work experience or your own experience in life of doing something else. So that is the third way of getting into management consulting firm. So there are three ways, according to me. The most foolproof and the most beneficial method is an MBA, because it also opens up other opportunities, right? And you are well skilled, people trust you, people trust your education, and you yourself feel more confident because you have been amongst other peers who have studied the same course and who have kind of contributed to your learnings.
Okay. Yeah, dear attendees, we'll be talking about the CAT 23 tips in a bit. Let's first cover. Okay, there is a question about what kind of problems do you solve as a management consultant? Yeah.
Okay. So I think very basic three questions that a consultant can solve for a client is one, monetarily, right? If your company is not doing well, if you're facing losses, if you have reduced profits, you kind of go to a consulting firm, you ask them how to kind of solve this problem for you, how to increase profits or reduce losses. That is one kind. Second, if a company wants to start a new product, right? A new product, or wants to get into a new segment. For example, Reliance is getting into an apparel business, right? It is something very different from what they have done in the past. So they want a consulting firm to bring expertise and help them start a new product or a new segment, or introduce a new app. Probably a physical store had no app or no digital presence, but they want to increase the digital presence. So they want to launch an app. So for that, it could be a new product segment. And the third segment is just growth. A company is not growing. A company has become stagnant. How to grow the company, right? It could be by like mergers and acquisitions, or it could be via launching a new product line, or it could be via geographical expansion. You go from one country to another country, right? So something like this. So these are the basic problems that consulting firms solve. There are very niche problems as well, like a case that I solved in the past for the first few months of my job was a pharma company wanted to launch an app for doctors, right? A pharma company does not have the specialization to launch an app for doctors. So it will hire consultants. It will hire consultants to do that job for them and work with them and launch an app for doctors, something like that. For a government, it could be to launch something like a app for the public, right? COVID app was an app developed by consultants for the government. Something like that could also be a problem, which is why I feel that every day is different, every project is different.
Okay. What kind of internship courses or work-ex we can do if we are preparing for CAT 24? So yeah.
You're preparing for CAT 24. Correct. If you're preparing for CAT 24, you would probably be done with your graduation right now, or you would be doing your graduation. If you're done with your graduation, I would strongly suggest get into the corporate world, do a job in the industry. Don't go for startups, very niche startups or very early stage startups. You can of course go into something like a Paytm, but go into the corporate industry and be a part of the industry for about a year. That will help you understand how companies work. That will help you understand how the industry works, right? That will also, if you have a good brand name on your resume, it will help you in your admissions during MBA as well. If you're doing a graduation right now, pick up internships in your field of interest. Like if marketing interests you, do a marketing internship. If finance interests you, do an internship maybe in a finance or a banking sector. So I would suggest, if you're doing an internship, do it in your specialization. If you're doing a job, try to get into the industry. That is better.
Yeah. So let's talk about like the three skill sets, like three core hard skills, three soft skills that you need to excel in management consulting. Yeah.
Okay. So I think three hard skills, skills that usually come by studying or by experience. That is how I would define hard skills. One is analytical skills, basic problem solving. Like if you see a question, the way you answer the why, what, when, how, of that particular question, right? So why has a company not done well in the last 1 year? And then you kind of try to answer how that company has suffered, right? And that can only come by analyzing the problem statement, analyzing your company well. So problem solving is a core skill that can be developed either by studying, reading a lot of ways of solving a particular company's problems or doing an internship, right? So that is problem solving. That is the first skill that comes very handy. Second, I think that comes via experience is communication. It somewhere lies into hard and soft skills, but communication is one of the most important skills in a consultant's life because you are client facing. You have to write emails. You have to be good at verbal communication. You should know how to build a story. Even if you're presenting a slide, you should know how to build a story in the slide, right? So communication is again second most important thing. Third is networking and client interaction. Very important for you to build a relationship and continue that relationship. And it is not just important at your workplace, it is even important like outside of your workplace, right? The reason I'm coming to IIMS 3 years later is because I still have a relationship with the tutors, with Kalyani here. That is again a very important core skill because somewhere in the trajectory of becoming a management consultant, you will have to in future build relationship with clients and kind of get business for the consulting firm. So I think networking, client relationship management is another very course. Do you need to decide a specialization before MBA or after MBA? I'll answer that question in a very generic way that most IIMs, IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, all these have general managed MBA courses, right? You don't need a specialization. You don't have to decide your course specialization before you do an MBA from the top IIMs. Some IIMs or some MBA colleges like SP Jain specifically in Mumbai requires you to choose your specialization before starting your MBA. So you choose finance or HR or strategy or marketing before. But top IIMs like old IIMs, IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, Kozhikode, all these don't require you to choose a specialization. It is in the second year of your MBA when you actually choose your subjects. Even then, you choose your subjects and not a specialization. You can choose a marketing course, you can choose a psychology course, you can choose an HR course or a finance course. You can choose a mix of that. Something that I did was chose a mix of psychology, economics. I did not like finance or analytics. So I did not choose any maths course, but I chose HR, psychology, marketing strategy, economics, all these courses. So that kind of builds on to your specialization. CAT 23 tips for sure, we'll take it. Does Six Sigma certification needed to solve this kind of problems? No. No specific certification needed for solving problems. Problem solving skill is a very experience driven skill. Once you be a part of a job, which is why major people suggest graduates to do some kind of internship or job before they do an MBA, so that I think the skill gets built while you're at your job. A certification will not add a lot of value unless like it's a certification from an IIM or something. But this particular question, no, you don't need a Six Sigma certification. How to build profile for management consulting during CAT prep. A part of this was answered. I'll try to answer it more comprehensively. So as I was saying that a consulting firm usually looks at a more all-round comprehensive CV. That means you should have some evidence of educational excellence, maybe 10th, 12th, graduation score should be decent enough. I won't define decent, maybe 85, 90 plus is good enough. You should have some kind of work experience or internship experience. You should have definitely some kind of hobbies that you have pursued and excelled at. I wouldn't say you should have to play like Ranji Trophy, but you should at least play a sport regularly and show that in your CV. You should have some certificates to show that. You can also be good at something like fine arts, right? You could be good at fine arts. You could have a Instagram profile that shows some of your hobbies very well. You could have a blog of your own, right? You could be good at writing, reading. You should be able to justify your hobby. I wouldn't say you need certification, but you need definitely an evidence to show that you have invested time and effort in developing an extracurricular activity. For me, it was I had done a course in graphology. I had done a little bit of writing. I have my own blog. I used to really enjoy painting as well, and I knew about a few painting. I could show some of my paintings on Instagram as well. So something like that also helps.
Okay, let's start. Let's then talk a little bit about, okay, how much of let's talk about the MBB versus Big Four. So can is it possible for somebody to shift from MBB to Big Four, but can a Big Four person be hired by an MBB firm? Yeah.
Okay. So big fours like EY, Deloitte, they have their consulting arms, which basically do consulting for companies like MBB do. And they have other specialization also, because I know, because EY also does audit, right? So if you're in some non-consulting stream, it might get difficult for you to switch to an MBB.
Okay.
Because you are going from a back end role to a front end role, you're going from a non-consulting background to a consulting background. It might be difficult unless you have considerable amount of years of experience. Even then, you will have to take a few years of tenure cut. That means if you have done 4 years of experience as a non-consultant in EY or Deloitte or KPMG, you might not join at a level where consulting employees have done 4 years of work experience. You'll probably join at 2 levels below that. You will have to take a tenure cut of 2 years and join 2 levels below. But that is also something that people do because they want to get into the consulting firm. If they don't have an MBA or they don't want to do anything in education, they will probably take a tenure cut and go into a consulting. If you're in a consulting arm of the Big Four companies, it becomes much easier for you to switch to an MBB because it's more natural, right? You have done consulting in a Big Four company for a few years, and then you want to shift to the top management consulting firms. It is a natural trajectory that people do, but again, you will have to give several rounds of interviews. You will have to explain about what work you have done as a consultant in the Big Four, and only then. It is not as easy, but it's not impossible as well. It is possible.
Okay. Yeah, there's a question about how does a consulting job look on the resume after 4 to 5 years in the field? Isn't it a problem that as a consultant, you can only acquire knowledge and expertise at the surface level only as compared to a specialist due to short project duration, considering 6 months average? And how do you develop a greater knowledge base in such short duration? Yeah.
Understood. Very valid question for somebody who has not looked at how consulting looks like. Even for me, if somebody would have told me that you as being a CA need to build an app, I think there's another question that say, how are you building an app when software companies can do that, right? You are more generalist than specialist. To answer all these questions related to how do consultants actually prove their worth to companies, it is actually very surprising because as a team of 4, there are people of different levels. There will be a project leader, there will be a consultant, there will be a senior associate, there would be an analyst or an associate. And you work together under the guidance of a managing director and partner. So every project in a consulting firm would have 1 or 2 managing directors who are also partners. They are called as MDPs, managing director and partners so basically they have been in the company for more than 12 years. Right? So those are the people who will lead that case. And they are the people who are specialists. So after a project leader level, you have to choose your industry expertise. After 4 years of being a consultant, you become a project leader. And that is the time when you choose whether you want to expertise in consumer goods or industrial goods or pharmacy or government cases. So you specialize and that is a time when you kind of gain in-depth knowledge. So the MDPs guide everybody under them. So a team or a basic project team would look like a 8-member team with 2 MDPs who have specialized in that particular industry for 8+ years. So they will guide you definitely to solve that problem. And then there are 4 to 5 people who will be doing on the ground research. So when we say that we are solving the problem for you, we will do interviews, we will go on the ground, work with the staff, try to understand the business better. So we will do the rigorous work. We will do more churning out of more in-depth research of the company themselves. They might not know what is the source of their problem so well as we could have probably found out. So we will go do on-ground research, secondary research, primary research, know in depth about the company, find the solution to the problem, go and present it first to our superiors, right? We'll present it to the project leader. Project leader will add more value to it. Then it will be get presented to the partner at the consulting firm. He will add more value. And then we will work with the client. We will propose a particular solution. So it is not surface level. The amount of rigor, the reason we work 12 hours at a consulting firm is because that rigor is required. Otherwise, you will not be able to get that depth of understanding. To answer the specific question, like why a consulting firm would be hired to build an app, because an app building will require an app developer. It would require communicators. It would require content writers. It would require design team to like design how an app would look like. It would need people of different skills to do their job. So a consultant might not sit and write a code for an app or a website, but it will hire the best app developers in the country, get them to work with a content team, with a design team, get all their thoughts together, build it, get it presented to the client, get an approval, and then the app would be built. So when I'm saying a consulting firm would build an app, it will not code the app, but it will manage the entire on-ground work that is required to build an app. Right?
Okay.
So that is the way consulting firms. That is the reason I say communication is so important, because you have to talk to multiple parties, get the work done.
Okay, but tell me something. So there was also a question, but if you can again tell a little bit more about, like, are there any other hard skills that you might like to add? Because there is a question about that here. Yeah.
Okay. So I think skills. Certain skills, certain hard skills. Somebody mentioned the Six Sigma certification, right? There are courses like risk management courses. There are marketing courses by Google. So these particular skill sets would be useful to you in one or the other case. It might not be handy to you in every case. Like every case that you would be a part of would not require you to do marketing, right? Would not require you to do supply chain management. But one of the many cases that you do would require that skill set. So it's never harmful to get a certification or study some new niche subject, right? I did graphology, and that could be helpful in I don't know, in any case in future. I am good at communication. That definitely comes handy when I'm interacting with the client. I have studied core accounting. So whenever there is a finance problem, I would be preferred because I understand accounts a little better than probably an engineer, right?
Absolutely.
So my CA course is not going in vain. I am using my skill sets of accounting to kind of suggest to companies how they should do revenue recognition, or how they should probably show their balance statements, or how they should probably apply to a bank to get a loan. Something as simple as that could also be a way where we can suggest. So my education during BCom, MCom, I studied psychology during BCom. So that is not going in vain. It is definitely coming to help. So if you want to do a particular course that you think will enhance your skill set, go for it. It will add to your profile. That is one. Second, it might come handy anytime in future.
Okay, tell me, how much traveling is involved in management consulting? What kind of work-life balance is there in management consulting?
Okay, very, very prominent question to management consultants. It is a travel job. It is definitely a travel job, because you work with the client at the client side. My current case at BCG requires me to be in Bangladesh 4 weeks out of 8 weeks. So that means traveling to Bangladesh on Monday and returning on Friday. So it definitely involves a lot of travel. There are its pros and cons. Of course, the pros are that you get to travel to different cities, different countries, probably get to explore, get to know the culture of that particular country or city. And there is a certain high that you get to travel, live in like luxurious hotels, and you enjoy the hype in that traveling job. Of course, there are cons that it is a little exhausting. You get consumed. There is more fatigue in traveling. Work-life balance, I would say, depends from case to case. My first case was it was a Mumbai-based case. I am from Bombay. I used to come back home. I used to have dinner with my family every day. That was a relatively better on work-life case. The second case I chose, genuinely honest telling you, I knew that the case would have been difficult. I knew that the case would involve heavy traveling, be longer hours. But that case was so interesting that I did not want to lose out on that case. Sometimes you would probably give in more of your personal time to, because you get to learn and because you feel that it is more challenging and more exciting. So work-life balance differs from case to case. But having said that, you can choose your path, right? You can always choose to do your home location cases. If you want to stay at home, you don't want to travel, for example. Early mothers often do this, young mothers often do this, that they choose to stay in their home location and don't do travel cases. Some people prefer to stop their day at 8 p.m. Then they don't think about how fast they will grow in the company, how will their promotion be impacted. So people choose their own preference, and I think it should be that way.
Okay, there's a question about hello. You mentioned that one of your objectives in pursuing an MBA was to venture into consulting. I'm curious to know what your expectations were before stepping into the role of a consultant and how your experience has unfolded while working with BCG.
Okay. Very interesting question. So I think my first exposure to consulting was when I did my internship of 2 months. It was the COVID year, so I was working from home. It did not seem that exciting at that point because working from home on a client-oriented or a travel-oriented job is not that exciting. But when I joined them full time, which is last year, we traveled to cases, we traveled to the client office and worked very much in cooperation with the top management of that company. So the MD of that company, the CEO of that company was interacting with us once a month, which was a great deal. When I was aspiring to be a consultant, I always was very excited about the dynamism of that job, of a management consulting job. I felt I will be working with different companies, different sectors, different industries. So exciting. But I never thought that at such an early level, within 1 year of being a consultant, I would be sitting in the same room as the CEO of a company who has been the CEO for like 40 years, who's one of the richest people in India. So it is definitely that feeling is really great, that you have studied, you have worked hard, you've done an MBA, and it is paying off by you getting to interact with one of the smartest and the most brilliant minds. So I think that was something new. I did not expect it so early in my career. I expected it sometime later, but I think it comes very early in a consulting job vis-a-vis any other job. You would not probably have direct interaction with an MD of a company directly. But in this job, that is definitely a differentiating factor. That is a different thing that
Tell me something. Do you need to be in a certain kind of B schools to be hired by the MBB firms?
The answer is yes and no, both. I would say your profile should have 2 or 3. I think somebody in the comments also mentioned spikes. That is what management consulting firms look for. There should be 2 or 3. Spikes are basically 2 or 3 really star points in your CV. It could be via an MBA. It could be your education institute from top IIMs or IITs, right? That is 1 star factor. You could be brilliant at a sport. You could be a Ranji Trophy player, or you could be a national level badminton player. That is another star. You could have really good work experience. You would have probably worked in TCS in the core CEO's office, or you would have worked in Reliance for 4 years in different branches and different segments. So that is a very good work experience. You would have got a very good award from the founder of the company in your workplace. That is again a spike. Having said that, these stars should be a part of your profile. There should be something differentiating that nobody else in probably that interview room has. The one that you have.
Okay.
But an MBA is the easiest way to,
Correct.
MBA from a good
From
college is the
top B
easiest
school.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because MBB
because
would not go to certain B schools anyway, even
correct,
for
it would not
yeah.
go to
Yeah.
normal MBA colleges in
Correct.
Bombay. There are, I think,
Yeah.
200 plus MBA colleges in
Mm.
Bombay. They would not go to
Mm.
it. They would probably
Mm.
go to no MBA college in Bombay,
Correct. Yeah.
except SP Jain. Right,
Mm.
1 out of 200 colleges they would go to. So
Right.
if you
True.
do prepare, if you're preparing for CAT, I would say
Mm.
the best way is to like crack CAT, get a good percentile, get into the
Mm.
dream MBA college,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
the route becomes much easier
Correct. Yeah.
for you.
So let's now talk about the CAT prep. So tell
Yeah.
me first, you've already you prepared for CAT while you were working, and it was only the one time you took. You were not a retaker, and that was it. And you made it to IIM Ahmedabad. So yeah, so you must have done something or everything right in your scheduling and planning. So how about tell us about the CAT prep, your plan, scheduling, and also from the point that one is of course our CAT 24 students, but also our CAT 23 students from August till November 26th. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to answer this question very, very honestly,
Yeah.
not worrying about what people would think, but so I started preparing for a November attempt in February, right, in February, March. So if you're a CAT 23 attempt, you should be like on your toes right now. If you're a CAT 24 attempt, try to gain momentum right now itself so that it becomes easier for you, because doing CAT prep along with job or graduation is not easy. So I started in February to July end, right? Up till this time, I had almost covered my portion. I had covered studying everything once, but studying everything once is not enough in CAT. What you need is very, very rigorous mock test practice. So I had started taking my mock tests in around June and July, which is when I think the IMS mock test series starts. And up till August, I had given about 5 to 10 mock tests. I had taken 5 to 10 mock tests. August is the time when CAT 23 attempt people should be like on fire, like your weekends should be in CAT prep. I was a hard worker for sure, but I was not amongst the people who would get 100 percentile in the SimCATs itself, right? I was struggling. I was struggling in maths, I think QA. I was also on and off struggling in DILR. I was not getting a great percentile. In fact, up till October, I was not getting a great score in SimCATs. But the only mantra I followed from August to October end was to not give up on taking mock tests. I think this, if you're a CAT 23 attempt, even if you're scoring a 80 percentile, don't give up at this point. You might think that there are only 3 months left or 4 months left, but honestly, I did not. That time CAT was a 300 total preparation. I had not crossed 100 score. I mean, I'm not even talking about 100 percentile. I had not crossed 100 up till September end. October, it was the first month I crossed 100. I was struggling. There is a Club 100 group in IMS it was called Club 100 that time. I don't know what it is called right now. Those are the people who get a very high percentile in SimCATs across all centers, right? I was struggling to be a part of that Club 100 because I was getting 99, 98, 97. But thanks to my mentors in IMS, I was motivated enough to keep taking those tests. The mantra in the last 3 months is to not give up even if you're not scoring. You might reach your peak performance in October. You never know. My peak performance was my actual CAT performance. That was my best performance. I had never gotten a 99 percentile ever in SimCATs. I had only crossed 95 percentile in the last SimCAT. I remember my SimCAT branch had a list of top 10 rankers every SimCAT, and they used to display it. I used to never be a part of that list. And I used to feel really sad that I've been preparing very heavily with my job, but never crossed 100, never been in the top 10 list. But finally, the last SimCat, I was in that list. So the mantra in the last 3 months is to take a lot of mock tests, revise your portion, second. And third is in the last few days, right? This is very early on, I'm giving a tip. I would suggest take a break from your job. Take a break of 5 days. It is extremely important for you to be in the zone of taking a CAT exam. A CAT exam requires you to be very focused, very constant, very, very focused on your portion, on your preparation, on your strategy. So try refining in the last 3 months, try refining your strategy, try taking a lot of mock tests and improving on the portion, understanding where you have made mistake, how to solve questions better. And in the last few days, just take a little bit of off from everything, from social media, from work, from whatever else you're doing in life. Last 1 week or last 2 weeks should be dedicated to CAT, to your sleep cycle, to your own mental and physical well-being. Very, very important. For CAT 24 attempt, people, you are early, but let not that early word fly away, right? You have the advantage of time. Try to finish your portion as soon as you can and try to get into the momentums of solving mock tests. And early next year, maybe March, April, May, you can start taking mock tests, and you shouldn't wait till October to get your peak score. You could probably excel in July and maintain your excellence throughout, because a CAT preparation journey for me was like a peak and a turf and a peak and a turf. I used to get a 99, I used to get drop at 70. I again used to cross 100, I again used to drop. So let that velocity, like let that turbulence go away as soon as possible, and you should reach your peak optimum performance by October for you to excel. I think that is my overall mantra.
Tell me something, for how long, which part was your challenge? Which section was your challenge, and how did you work on that?
Right. Actually, I was struggling with QA first because I'm not an engineering student. I studied maths was in 12th. So I was struggling with quants. Also, I was somebody who was not very quick, not very fast at calculation. So I modified my strategy according to my strengths. My strength was to attempt limited questions, but to get 100% accuracy. So for you to recognize your strengths also, you will have to take mock tests. So what I was doing up till October was to understand what is my strength. I understood that speed is not my strength. I couldn't solve all questions in the QA section. So I decided, after taking about 30-40 mock tests, that I am going to focus on accuracy. I'm going to attempt few questions, but I'm going to attempt all correct. Similar was my strategy in DILR. I never tried to attempt on completing on the full paper. I used to miss out on one set of DILR, but rest questions were strong. But on the other hand, my English was a strength from the beginning. But since it was the strength from the beginning, I stopped preparing for it. I started focusing more on quants and DILR. And that is when I realized that my scores in English were dipping because people were doing better. So if you're good at some portion, don't leave practice completely, I would say. Do all equally. Maybe you have to put a few more hours in a particular sector, in a particular segment. Do that, but don't leave your strength. So in English, my strategy was different. My strategy was to attempt the full paper because my accuracy was more often than not, it was correct. So in English, my mantra was different. So that is the reason I say, if you're an early CAT preparer for CAT 24, you can start creating these strategies early on so that you stick to your strategy.
Correct. Yeah, and do you have any tips for the day or for D-Day, for that matter, even the week before? How do you remain focused if you've not been doing well? How do you keep yourself motivated and calm towards the end? As in, maybe first week of November, you took one mock and it was really bad. How do you keep yourself, focused?
Correct. I think 3 things. One, to not compare your performance with anybody else's. Had I compared my performance with people who are performing brilliantly in SimCats, who are getting 100 percentile, who are the branch rankers, or who were excelling in every SimCat, I would have been very demotivated. I was only comparing my score with my own earlier score. I was just trying to beat my score of the earlier SIMCAT. So not comparing with anybody else, especially in the last few weeks, is very important. You should focus on your own performance. Second, as I said, try to detach from other things. That will definitely help you maintain focus, maintain a particular um, food intake schedule, maintain your sleep cycle. If you're, I think now there are 3 batches of CAT exams. That time it was 2, or morning and afternoon slot. So if you're an afternoon slot, set your sleep cycle accordingly. If you're a morning slot, it becomes even more important because you'll have to wake up early. So last few weeks should be focused on maintaining a schedule. Every time you give a SIMCAT in the last few weeks, you should think of it as an actual CAT exam. You should wake up at that time. You should take that mock test at that particular time. So I think getting into the mode of the examination is extremely important. Not comparing yourself with anybody else is important. And I think last step would be 1 day before your, 1 or 2 days before your CAT, don't take a mock test, because in case it doesn't go in your favor, it might lead to stress. I would suggest create, very, very important, I forgot about this, create a formula book or create an important points book for yourself that you can refer to 1 day before CAT. So create an Excel sheet or create a notebook wherein you write your important points, the points. I had also made points where I make mistakes. So there was an Excel sheet of the problems I used to make mistakes regularly. So make a list of that and revise 1 day or 2 days before CAT.
Okay. Let's talk. Let's take a few questions about management consultant again. So tell me, what if you've given a solution to the company and your client is not happy with it? What do you do with it? I mean, what if you've given like multiple solutions and still the client is not happy? What does a person do then? Yeah.
Right. This happens actually often than not expected. The client is tough on you because they pay you a very big check, right? Management consulting firms charge companies for their time, and the clients also might not be fully satisfied with your solution. In that case, you reiterate. So reiteration, revising and refining your solution is a very big part of management consultant's job, which is why even one case as a consultant will build your thinking in multiple ways, because you will think about the same problem and solving it via 4 different ways. The client will often come back and say that we like this part of the solution but not the other part of the solution, so change it. And that would require your seniors to give you opinions, you benchmarking with other companies, how other companies solved it, how other countries solved it. So that iteration is required. The client will always not be easy because they have paid for that job to be done properly. They would expect you to get the best possible solution. And often that point is reached. It is never that consulting firms will not satisfy a client. They will always aim at satisfying a client with the right solution, but it will require some iterations, and that definitely comes with time and expertise.
Okay. One last question, or maybe 2. Okay. There's one about I wish to do an MBA in marketing. Could you please tell where should I begin to build a career in marketing consulting? And how should I build a profile for the same?
For marketing or for any other specific course, I would say do an internship in that particular, because you will only understand if you like that particular stream when you work in that stream.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. If you're a finance enthusiast, try working in a banking sector or try working at a NBFC or a finance firm, and understand what the role is. That is one level. Second, if you really enjoy it and you feel that this is what you want to do all your life, you have to get certain education in that specialization. A finance person only being a CA will not be enough, probably. You have to do a CFA. A lawyer, if wants to go into forensic law, would have to probably do a course in forensic risk management or something like that. If you're a marketing enthusiast, there are marketing courses, there are digital marketing courses. Try to find your niche. So if you're interested in digital marketing, there are courses by Google, there are courses on Coursera. Those courses will help, those certifications will help, and a work experience.
But tell me, can you also suggest any consulting fellowships which are there? Are there any?
Usually consulting firms hire two kind of interns. One is via any colleges. It could be an IIT or an IIM. IIT also, people, consulting firms also hire from IITs for
Okay.
internships. Second, there is a term called OTC, which is over the counter resource. Basically, people hire people for a shorter period of time for a particular project usually, but for
Okay.
that you need a particular skill set for you to pitch to the consulting firm that I am very good at this particular skill, and hence you have to hire me. You would have something very, very extraordinary in your CV to be hired as an OTC.
Okay.
That is not the regular route. But if you want to check out roles available, there are consulting firm careers pages of every consult. So BCG has a BCG careers page. McKinsey would have a careers page. EY, the website will have a list of internships also open. So do regularly check it.
Okay. One last question. How do you balance between work and your CAT prep?
Yeah, I think very important question. Most of them struggle with it. I did too.
Correct. Yeah.
The mantra to it is, I think, two ways that helped me is one, to efficiently use your time. I remember I used to travel to Worli from Thane for my job, which is basically a 1.5 hour travel every single day one way. So 3 hours of travel time I used to either read, do vocabulary building, maybe an app or a word power made easy book, or solve passages, right? I used to do passage solving during my travel time. I used to revise tables. I used to do math solving in the train, on the bus. So utilize your time very efficiently. Only weekends would probably not be enough. Weekends you will get longer chunk of time during your weekends. So what I did is I utilized my weekends for solving mock tests. So I solved like 2 mock tests every weekend minimum, like one on Saturday, one on Sunday, or maybe 2 on a Saturday and 1 on Sunday. That is when you get 3 hours long time. But on weekdays you might get only 2 hours in the evening, or you might get time during traveling. Utilize that itself. You cannot afford to only focus on work on weekdays. You'll have to take up about an hour or two. So utilize that time very efficiently. And second is that if you're very sure you want to do an MBA, you will have to at some point, maybe in August, September, put your work at a second preference. You will not be able to keep work and CAT prep at the same level. If you are very focused on getting into an MBA, doing an MBA next year, this is the time when you will have to put work on the second preference. When I say that, I won't say that in the office you go and study. What I say is you end your day at 6 p.m. I remember leaving office every day at 6 p.m. I start my day at 9 very early, but I used to leave my office at 6 p.m. 7 p.m. I used to reach an IMS center, go into an IMS center, study from 7 to 9, and 9 o'clock I used to go home, because after you go home you feel tired. That is what I experienced, that I used to feel tired when I used to go home. So I used to go into an IMS center, study, and then go back, or go to a library, anything, whichever works for you. So I think that.
All right. Okay. So that's all we have time for this session. And thank you all the attendees. And I would like to give my special thanks to Anushree Naik. Thank you so much for all the insights on management consulting and CAT prep tips. Thank you so much.
Thank you.